Welcome to the Soulbody Wholeness podcast.
Each episode is a living, breathing transmission. Together, we will explore deep, nuanced, and controversial topics of the soul. Welcome to your community of sensitive seekers and deep feelers.
Welcome back, Goldsbrand.
All right, here we go. Episode number 2 of the Soulbody Wholeness podcast. I am super stoked for today's episode. It's like a guest, but she's also going to be a host, interviewing me in a sort of way and speaking on a lot of these concepts that I'm going to be sharing about my story. Basically, how I got to this place of launching this podcast and how I got to this place of this threshold that I'm about to cross. Maybe by the time I release this episode, it'll be lining up right around the same time that I'm becoming very front-facing with my business and with my offerings. And I've been in this long gestation period of really getting to the roots of what it is that I'm putting into the world. I've had this understanding of my soul purpose in a very visionary, etheric, mythical, imagery-laden way. And I've been in this process of crystallizing that and going through a huge descent, death, rebirth, and crystallization process that I have been so masterfully guided through by my dear, dear soul sister, my business mentor, business coach, business oracle. And really, when I say business, I'm saying soul-led business, like people who are here for the new earth, and their business is a huge part of their mission and a huge part of their learning curriculum. Like, these souls right now came here to learn through the alchemical fires of entrepreneurship, which is so crazy and so cool, and I love it so much. And so that's what this episode is going to be about. It's really this year, that process I went through to get to where I'm at right now, and how I've been so beautifully guided, walked hand in hand by my dear soul sister, Christina Marie. So welcome to the Soulbody Wholeness podcast, Christina.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a precipice moment that we are standing in together. And it's been a wild, mythic, multi-dimensional journey that we have traversed together over the past couple of months. And what an honor it's been to midwife you through this birthing of yourself and of the temple that is soul body wholeness, and really taking everything to the next level of coherence and resonance and deep truth, and to really be in awe of how it's all physicalized and being able to witness and gaze upon the material manifestations of that, as far as having a website, having a podcast, having social media posts, having these things in form that represent it, and also just who you've become through this process, the authenticity, the purification, the embodiment that I've been able to witness as you've allowed the spirit of your business to initiate and alchemize your soul. It's just been the best. It's like
So
my
good.
favorite thing. It's just my favorite thing. So my prayer is that this conversation today, as you share your story, and as I reflect on like the templates and the codes that are really just embedded in the mysteries of alchemy and creation and the soul realms through this process, that the listeners can, remember the true process of creation as a magical, organic, deep, soulful, transformational journey. And like you said, our souls, there's not the same mystery schools as our souls remember from other times, but our souls have set up this perfect orchestration for us to learn and evolve so much through the process of business and bringing our medicine into the world in this current time. So I would love to just open up with the invitation for you to share about this journey. Give us the outline of what it looked like to go through that descent process and then to be in the rebirth that you're experiencing now on the other side.
So beautifully said. And just to offer any listeners who maybe the idea of, what she talking about? This mystery school was different then, and now it's this version. Just we both believe in this cosmology of throughout time, initiation has been a very structured ceremonial process. The shifting of one's center of gravity to a more mature, evolved, refined state, right? This upgrade. And that has taken a lot of intentional communal support to make that happen for one person, the initiate. And so what we believe is that our souls right now have incarnated in order to experience initiation after initiation by life itself. It doesn't mean that all the ceremonial processes are gone, but the act of life is continuously initiating us. And one of those big ones is soul-led entrepreneurship. So I just wanted to offer that to anybody where that maybe felt a little highfalutin, like what are they talking about? Like hopefully that can ground it a little bit. Um, and yeah, before diving into the story, I just want to take a moment for the listeners, for you, and really for myself to come into presence, really slow down so you can start to expand your awareness to all the dimensions and the nuances of what we're speaking to. Even the space in between the words has such golden value to it. And this will be a theme I continue with each episode as I want to sit down around a fire and have an experience with a podcast. And I've really outgrown this idea of listening to the podcast while I'm doing 10 other things. It's like I actually want to have an embodied experience. So I'm just going to slow us down for a moment. And if you're driving, please don't do this. But if you're not driving and you have the capacity, just slowing down, maybe closing your eyes. We're just going to very briefly touch into our own experience. And maybe placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and just really feeling yourself for a moment, feeling your breath, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling the sacredness of this moment, feeling a sense of gratitude that you even get to listen to a conversation like this, or you get to be part of it. You get to join this moment here as we all traverse into the unknown together. And so just one collective breath together, inhaling through the nose and letting it all out. All right. Where do I even begin? Let's go. So, as I've spoken to in other episodes and in a lot of my social media content, I've been on a deep soul initiation following an initiatory relationship coming apart and then leaving community and then getting this signal from my soul, the sign to sell my things, almost everything I owned, and head off into the world, international, without any plan and without any plan of coming back. One-way ticket and just going and becoming a nomad for a totally unknown amount of time. I'm not going to go into all that, I promise. I've been through that story many times. But that journey has had so many hero's journeys within it. It's like a very big book. It's like this 3-year book at this point. And following some of the very deepest parts of the underworld, the suffering, the unknown, and coming out the other side with a lot of these images and words and directions and vision, very big vision of new earth. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve through my voice. I'm here to guide others. All of that was very clear, and that showed up in a lot of very beautiful mythopoetic ways. And I went through many, many underworld journeys after that of like understanding what those images meant. It's like, I know I'm here for a purpose. That has become so painfully clear. I've touched on it. And now I'm in this sort of cyclical understanding refinement process. And I had been called to go back to the States for a while, go through all these processes. And then I was called to leave the States again and go to Central America. I was linked up with a business partner at the time, and we started traveling together and refining this offering around a very specific, structured soul purpose initiation journey. And we ended up facilitating that together. It was a 6-month journey. It was so powerful and beautiful. And I'm going through multiple, very aligned certification processes during the time. Things are crystallizing and lining up and making sense. And so on the other side of that, I had this sense that I didn't want to have to figure out business on my own for like 2-3 years to become successful. I was like, give me the strategies that have worked. I have this idea of what I want to do. I want to work with my business partner. I want to do these journeys. And what came on my radar was this opportunity for a business mentorship that specialized in supporting holistic coaches and healers and leaders, and, had all these, I don't know if they were guarantees at the time, but these outcome oriented, like 10x your income, make 10K per month, go to 20K per month type of thing. And I didn't care so much about the money. It was just, okay, I want to enter a container where they tell me what to do. Like, tell me what to do, tell me what's worked. I want to just fucking do it. And my business partner and I were so on fire, and I just felt this yes to join the program, to do it. I was like, we're going to fast forward this. Like, we're going to be so far ahead of anybody just like starting in a coaching realm and having to figure out everything. It's like, we're going to use all these strategies and just fly. And the price tag for that was the big reveal, about $15,000. And I had never even imagined the possibility of spending that much on almost anything beyond maybe a car. Like, I just had never spent on anything that expensive before. And the sheer act of stepping forward and, spending that money, saying yes to that, completely rewired so many scarcity codes that I had been running, scarcity programs that I had been running. I've got Jewish ancestry and whatever from my own familial upbringing in this lifetime and whatever I have in my past lifetimes. There's a lot of scarcity beliefs that were running the show. And I spent many years attempting to alchemize them through mindset and manifestation, but not really getting into the deep unconscious. And this was actually a way to do that. It was this breakthrough moment where I did it. And like all of these things that were reality is like, I only have this much money. I can't do XYZ. I could never spend that. Um, it rewired me not just for making big purchases, but in my everyday reality of tipping and just being generous with my money. And I used to record everything when splitting payment with somebody or splitting bills, or like I paid for dinner. I would record that. So I would want to make sure I got paid back with good friends. And that like completely alchemized and integrated into this much more openness with money, much more generosity, much more of the actual frequency of abundance and money, how it's supposed to be like a river. You can't hoard or else it becomes stagnant. Um, so just that decision alone was worth its weight in gold. And I can sort of see the potential of this story getting very long-winded as I'm going into like each little theme. So I'm going to pause and ask you if you have anything you want to add just for this part of the journey. I think this might be a good way to do it.
Well, yeah, I would love to talk about it's so beautiful to be able to feel like the gold, right, of that part of making that investment, being able to feel like that in itself was such powerful medicine for you that opened up a whole new realm. That was a timeline shift. And I'd love to hear a little bit going more into like kind of the things where you started to maybe take on strategies or ways of doing business that weren't in full alignment with your energy type, your energy
Yeah.
system, and kind of the
Yeah.
process of like hitting that point of like hitting the edge of like, okay, I've gotten this far with these strategies, but that's not going to take me into like a of an expansion from your true foundations. So I'd love to
Yeah.
like really emphasize the part of the journey where you realized it wasn't in service to you building your actual foundation from the truth of your own energy and alignment.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. So this mentorship that I worked with, I'm going to do my best not to speak in a way that's negative towards them because it was so transformative going through that process. That process, I had to go so deep into the polarity of everything that's misaligned with my true soul frequency, like how I'm supposed to relate with the world and do business. I'm sure it's been successful for so many other people, but there's even in the intake process, not learning deeply about what it is I'm doing, I'm offering, me and my business, what we are doing, and not learning about like what do you have as your foundation. And what I sort of started to realize is I'm trying to do all of these strategies, and a lot of the strategies were so misaligned with my energy anyway. I don't think I'll ever be using those strategies, but I'm trying to use strategies that are building on top of a house, this huge, magnificent house that looks so beautiful, that has a complete shit foundation, or just really incomplete foundation, I should say. The foundation hasn't, it's like they're starting to build the foundation, like, oh, it's coming together. And then you just stopped and start building on this like beautiful looking house. It's like, that's going to have problems. So I went really deep. And first of all, I'll start by saying, I am a reflector in human design, which means I'm a non-energy type. And we're not going to go into all of that, but you're also a non-energy type. So there's a specific way that we are supposed to operate within our day to day and business that will bring us lots of success. And I wasn't doing that. I was continuing to run old programs of my personality complex, my programs that had gotten all entangled with productivity and yang energy, masculine. There wasn't a minute of the day that I was allowing to go unscheduled. It was like I was scheduling everything from the moment I woke up till when I went to bed to work on business, or like a workout for 1 hour and then I got to get back to business. And the energy I was feeling is like I felt so much high energy because I was so excited about this thing. And then I would hit these huge dips, and I feel like I just kept running from the lows and trying to avoid the low energy states time and time again, which I had done throughout my whole life. So this container I was in, it was about a 4-month span, was basically like this simulation that I needed to enter for everything I had been doing in my life that was out of alignment with this masculine to feminine thing. This like way too much on the spectrum of masculine, with no recharge, with no death, with no gestation. It was just like go, 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 output, output, output. It was like hyper amplified to the point where I had to die. And it was at this time that I met you, as I was like on the tail end of this mentorship. Um, and I immediately felt this draw to your energy and the way you spoke about your business. I was asking all these questions, like how you support businesses. And from that moment, I felt the sense of like, wow, this is total opposite of how I've been doing things. And I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline, so maybe you can correct me if I'm a little off here. But at some point, I realized towards the end of this mentorship that I really wanted to work with you. Like I felt this calling because it felt so individualized. It felt like you were not trying to strategically sign me up to be with you. You wanted to know a lot about me, and you really wanted me to sit with if it felt like a good fit. There was no part of you that was trying to bring me in. Your field was so clear that you only are going to be allowing in the aligned clients for you. And even that process was such a initiation or an up leveling for me. Is like, oh, you can do it this way. You don't have to take a million discovery calls and like figure out, who's aligned and who's not. You can kind of like be very discerning and almost make it sound like I don't want you. Like you don't want to do this. Trust me. Like this is a mystery school. This isn't a strategy based thing that's going to 10x your income. And weirdly enough, that attracted me. I was like, oh, that sounds right. Which shows the brilliance of that, of you living in your alignment, because as we know on the other side of this container, I've been one of your most aligned clients. It's like so brilliant how that
Mhm.
filtration system is so intelligent. Um, yeah, I'm curious if there's anything you want to share in all of that.
Yeah, I love hearing your experience, of feeling that, like, yes, when my inner guidance, with how I hold my work, because I've learned this through many different cycles of clients and alignment, is that, I birth and create websites, and I'm not the person that someone goes to when they just want a website where they just are like, "Hey, here's all the stuff, just do that." I'm not a web designer. I am a business and soul midwife. And I happen to be an amazing web designer to bring and crystallize the etheric into form.
Yes,
But
you
I
are.
yeah, but I've learned that I don't want to take on clients who only want the outcome or the website, because my mastery is in this journey that is is actually an initiatory process. It's a living, breathing mystery school where someone is mentored by the spirit of their own business and by their own soul in their organic creation process. And going through a cellular upgrade with the consciousness and the higher realm manifestation of this creation, which I believe, like, my codes are, this original creation template where creation isn't just something we do from the mind, it's a living, breathing, evolutionary process that's designed to transform us when we engage with it in a reverent, present way. And so, yeah, there's now these specific, like, kind of gatekeeping mechanisms in my field where it's like, I really, only wanna work with people who wanna go through whatever that process requires, and who have the
Mm.
flame of devotion to whatever it takes to bring forth the medicine and the mission of my soul. I'll do that. I want that. That's what I want more than anything. I want the evolution of my soul. I want the life that reflects the truest essence of who I am, and I'm willing to die to anything that's not that. I'm willing to go into the underworld and purge all the old programmings, the distortions, the things that are clogging the channel, the resistance. Like, I'm willing to sit in the void and allow it to take as long as it takes to let the true essence of the process to move in cycles and seasons in the pace of nature and the soul. And so, like, it's so beautiful because, like, your soul, like, wanted this experience more than anything. As soon as I was like, "It's a mystery school, like, if you say
I was like,
yes to this,
sign me the fuck
you're"
up.
like, I can't say what's gonna happen. I can't tell you what that's gonna look like other than you would have to be willing to go through whatever needs to happen for the truth of this process to emerge. And your soul was like, "This is what I've been looking for my whole life." The mystery
Mhm.
school energy, the true path of mastery, the true path of the initiate. And, like, we talk about too, like, there's something about this pathway working with this template where it's not about just getting the thing the fastest. It's about being forged and refined and gaining skillfulness and mastery so that you can not only have a business that reflects your soul, but you are a steward of it. You know how to consistently show up for your creative process. You are in alignment with true creation, which is actual life force, vitality. The body has to be well and resourced and nourished and in alignment with these union frequencies connected to God. There is so much that, just gets this upgrade when we say yes to the truth of, this process. And so it was just really cool to feel like you're human, being like, what is this? And just the curiosity, but then feeling your soul just being like, I'm I'm just a yes, and I have no idea really what this is gonna be, but to have someone in my field who trusts the mystery so much is so exciting for me because that's a requirement. Like, you have to trust the mystery of what the journey is going to be and give yourself fully to that, and the fruits of that are delicious.
So yummy. So I want to talk about briefly the some of the strategies for those who feel like you have to do these things and how I'm saying that I'm not doing those things. So some of the strategies that they put us through cold outreach, reaching out to doing lots of research and reaching out to all these people on Instagram and Facebook and having these, in my opinion, kind of corny ways to like warm up a conversation and get to a place where you're trying to get them to a discovery call or you're free, whatever, which then it gets them on the discovery call, like these types of things. That was so bad for my brain, like unbelievably bad for my brain and nervous system. I doubt it's good for anyone's, but I'll just speak for myself and my energy system. Like, it would wire me up so much, and it was impossible for me to just stay focused and only reach out to this and this. Like, with how this social media is so brilliantly and nefariously designed to hijack and scatter your attention. It's like I was fooling myself to think that I was above that vulnerability, like that happened time and time again. I would come out of it just like, whoa, I do not feel good, like an hour and a half later. And creating ads to go out to just the public, like paid ads where I'm front facing and all of these things. And I did all of these things, and such beautiful medicine for me to see what does not work. And it helped me get through so much fear of like even doing what I'm doing right now, speaking, and I'm going to release this. And I feel so comfortable doing this. It's because I did that. It's not for me to do going forward. Maybe at some point it is, but like not for a long time. That is like one strategy that is not for me right now. And so it's been such a juxtaposition working with you of like really getting into the foundation and how does my body, which is my soul, how does my nervous system, which is my soul, want to orient in this life? And there shouldn't be anything that I'm forcing myself to do that's out of alignment with the frequency of my soul and nervous system. I shouldn't be making sacrifices. And we just eat up program after program, conditioning after conditioning on all levels of the total false matrix to people in the alternative healing worlds that we have to sacrifice something about our authentic nature in order to find success. And I'm proclaiming that I'm not eating that dish anymore. I'm not taking any more bites of that. I'm done with that meal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
I
I'll
would
give space if there's anything you want to share,
yeah.
but then I do want to go into the death process and how you guided me through that.
And that's what I was gonna share. It's what did it look like, or I was gonna ask, what did it look like to, yeah, go into the portal where the guidance of your soul was to stop doing literally everything, to stop
Mm-hmm.
trying to do social media, to stop doing the strategies you were doing, and to kind of
Dude.
free fall into the void and to
Mm-hmm.
go through the dismantling, the decomposition, and like really I'd also like to emphasize and bring in the aspect of the alchemy of like the return to the mother and kind of the reunification with the true mother energy,
Yeah,
that was this womb that you allowed yourself to merge with, that created the necessary conditions for your true masculine direction and clarity to crystallize, in a very organic way. So I'd love to hear your description of that part of the process.
totally. And I love that you shared all that because it sparked my memory of what really got me to go to Ma, to like allow myself to die, was a dream that I had. Like I was so deep in this container, I was starting to feel exhausted and confused. And, I'm like creating content every day, doing all these strategies, watching all these videos, and just starting to die more and more and fighting it. And then I had this dream that I won't go into the details, but maybe top 3 most powerful dreams I've ever had. Full on soul dream. The message of the soul dream was that I had been massively suppressing my feminine and forcing my feminine, my inner feminine, to contort itself to be masculine. And when I saw that imagery in the dream, which was literally in a bathroom, public bathroom, with a bunch of women like contorting themselves to use the urinal front facing, I felt this disturbance, this disgust. It's like, oh, I'm sure you can feel it just listening. So powerful. And there was a lot in there that amplified that feeling. And that wasn't just like this 3-month portal. This 3-month portal was this amplification of something I had done my whole life, something that my brothers have been conditioned to do their whole lives, generations and generations and generations. Like, you call it the patriarchy, call it, a complete imbalance of an overly masculinized culture, overly masculinized, celebrated culture. And that was the turning point for me. And this opportunity to go back to Costa Rica. I'd come to Florida for some time. And Costa Rica is the mother. Costa Rica is the waters. Costa Rica is the gestation. Costa Rica is the womb space. The nature and the energy there has the codes for that energy, that holding. And I had been in Costa Rica going, like on the computer all day, like doing it so out of alignment, totally contorting my insides, obviously, as this dream revealed. And thank God I met you during that time with the dream, to be able to share the dream with you, to be able to be so encouraged and supported to die, to allow, you saw the process that was taking place. You weren't telling me to go do something. You are devoted to God and nature. And so nature was taking its course with me, and you were saying, yes, let nature take its course with you, like that you're being guided. You will come out of this the other side. This is the foundation. This is what needs to happen, and so much of our culture, and even in the most well-meaning alternative healing and leadership and coaching circles, is like how to get out of the uncomfortable descent feeling as quick as possible, how to get away from that feeling of instability and find stability. Give me the nervous system regulation technique. Give me the breath work. Give me the cold plunge. Give me the sauna. Give me the supplement, right? It's like, oh, you're not feeling right. It's the Western consumerism, allopathic approach, but in some ways more dangerous because it's under the disguise of holistic and healthy. And when we say holistic, we mean holistic with a W, like holism, like including the soul, including the descent processes, including the initiations, including listening deeply to the guidance of nature, soul, the Tao, God. And so I fucking died, man. I went to Costa Rica and I was in this house by myself on top of this mountain, the universe so perfectly orchestrating that I even had that opportunity. What a fucking blessing it was to be able to die, to be able to be set up in a way that I had enough money in my bank account to be able to like stop doing things, serving less people, slowing way down, stopping social media output entirely. Like all the fears that brought up, the ancient fears that I've been carrying around, and the beliefs I've had about myself around, like, I never finish anything. I start getting all this beautiful momentum and then I stop. I let my self-saboteur sabotage the process. Like all of these distorted beliefs from my past in spiritual cloaks and spiritual disguises, when the true medicine was to allow all of that to die, to stop outputting, to receive, to go within. I ate so much food. I would have like this beautiful morning practice that I just pulled myself out of bed and just like do my thing for several, like journaling, just getting into the depths and getting into the depths of my soma and my feelings. And I haven't spoken to it about it on this podcast before, but I had done this training for this somatic work with Genius Frequency, and I have an interview with the founders of Genius Frequency on my YouTube channel if you want to learn more about that. But this deeply somatic shadow work that I was going so into every day, multiple times a day, and crying and feeling so sensitive, like I couldn't even look at light, like being in a lit room, like I was just like this all the time. I was like this like, exhaustion. And then I would spend hours at a time like binge watching The Office, like eating tons of food. It's like doing these big processes and then coming back to some kind of grounding and just like eating and eating and eating and sleeping more than I slept in so many years, and just challenging everything I knew about self-help, self-work, spirituality, like allowing myself to do nothing, to watch Netflix, to eat, like without trying to control myself. And noticing that I wasn't getting sick to my stomach, even though I was eating massive meals and I have had this past history of overeating and feeling sick to my stomach. It was just like, my body needed the calories. Do I know why? Logistically, if I'm following dietary protocols, I have no idea why. I don't understand. And I don't need to, because it felt right at the time. And looking back, it was very right. And I got to have these Zoom calls with you weekly, and you're the only person in the world who understood to the depths of what I was going through and encouraging me and supporting me. And, even saying like, it's not time for us to start our container yet. Like, again, so opposite of what I've been taught with so many of these mentorships. It's like, you get them on a discovery call. As soon as it's a yes, you like get them in, get them signed up. They're going to change their mind. You being so resource and anchored in your trust with the great unfolding, the mystery, God. There is no scarcity. Whatever actually happens from my truth, and it means we don't work together. You trust that. Like, so huge for you to be modeling that new way of reality, which is really an ancient way of reality for me. And supporting me through that. And through that process, not only letting go of momentum, but letting go of my business partner, because I realized that I needed to get to the depths of my offering, my soul, my mission. I could no longer be collaborating on something. Again, collaboration was becoming very clear to me that it was building on top of a weak foundation. It was like another form of the strategy problem. It's like, oh, we keep trying to make this work, and I haven't gotten to the clarity of who I am in a crystallized version of that to bring to a collaboration. And that's where the real magic can happen in collaboration. But it's not working here. And that was becoming painfully clear. And to have to face all of my demons around people pleasing and, I've made this commitment with a person and all of these things, and I'm backing out and I'm weak, and in my manliness, my manhood, my masculinity, like all of these things getting challenged. And the same happened with co-hosting a podcast and realizing like the same thing. It's like, I can't keep co-hosting, collaborating on this podcast when I haven't gone into the depths of myself and a podcast that wants to be born through my frequency? Josh, my soul, it's like Soulbody Wholeness. That has to come out and crystallize first before I can collaborate on podcast projects. And so again, facing a death of an old version of myself that would have just kept going because I was so afraid to say no and so afraid to sever relationships, so afraid of their reactions, their responses, maybe their projections, so afraid at the end of the day to feel my own feelings, in this specific flavor. Those were some of the deaths I went through, Christina. Does that answer your question?
Answers my question. And yeah, just to bring through a teaching that continues to humble me as I walk my own path of death and rebirth and continual cyclical initiation in life and business is that there's chapters of this where we're not meant to go through that process alone, where we're actually like really, needing the resource and the sight and the encouragement of someone who can see what we're going through. Because when we're in the underworld, when we're going through a death, when we're shedding so much, when things are shifting, relationships are changing, we're being asked to die to a version of ourselves, like it can be so terrifying and it brings up many things to tend to, survival patterns, things in our nervous system, deep fear, and like having someone on your team who's midwifing that process, who can be like, I see where you are, and it is exactly where you need to be. It can feel like when we're in the underworld, everything is dark and murky and it's hard to see. There's not light there. There's just breaking down. There's just the dissolving, the dismantling. Having someone who can say, I see exactly where you are. It's perfect. When our conditioning might still be in a place of wanting to get out of it or like just questioning it, wondering if, we need to shift something or get ourselves to the other side maybe faster. And I just want to, yeah, reflect on the gratitude for your receptivity to this process and like just being willing to go through all these different nuanced, subtle ways that your reality was shifting and your timeline was shifting, and how profound I feel like it was when I would just say, you're exactly where you need to be. This is everything that's meant to be happening. There's nothing out of place. And I feel like on the path of initiation, soul initiation, which you also guide people through, sometimes it's simply just having the presence of someone who can see in the descent, in the darkness, in the crumbling, in the breaking down, to hold that light and that knowing. And I think there's some that we're meant to walk alone, and we find a different trust and faith and resilience when we're going through that process, maybe in a kind of more unguided way. But I do feel like there are some chapters where really having that sight, reflection, and encouragement helps us to master that process in a more subtle and more nuanced way. And it's just a different kind of experience. So it was so cool to see you fully give yourself to that and let yourself completely break down the current tether points to that chapter of your life and surrender of like, I don't know what's on the other side. I don't know what's going to come from this. Maybe I'll have something that's going to birth through me, but this might be a long time. We don't know, right? We don't know how long it's going to take or what it's going to look like. But our soul, like, trust that process. Our soul trusts nature. So I would love to hear, yeah, maybe a little bit about what it looked like when on the other side of letting yourself completely dissolve and die and crumble, what it looked like when things started to kind of reorient, um, and yeah, come together in a new way.
Yeah, so beautifully said. And I just want to, before responding to that, respond to a little bit of what you were speaking to. You know, we're here really, a lot of us, to be bridge people, bridging the ancient ways to the modern and the future. Like, how is this going to look? We're not doing it exactly the same way as before. We're modernizing it. We're modernizing the initiation process. And yes, there are initiations we need to go through alone. For me, my soul guided me to do a lot of my beginning travel alone, and it fucking sucked. I had no one, like, through this process saying, you're exactly where you need to be. I had a lot of people telling me, is like, you should go home. It's like, no. And I needed that. That was very important. But the old way, the indigenous way, they had community, they had tribe, they had guides who have gone through the specific descent process that you've gone through before. Not that every single detail will be the same, obviously, but there is a theme of the initiation that you are going through, that you cannot be on the other side with an honest reflection of you are exactly where you need to be unless you've walked that path yourself. And the image that I read in a book recently of talking about how Jesus went through his last big initiation, the death initiation, so that he could forge a tunnel of light through all of the murky darkness that is death. I was like, I don't know if this story is supposed to be literal, but it is the most metaphorical story for all of us who are stepping into becoming guides for others and to be a community for others, holding others as they go through their initiation. You have to carve some tunnels of light through all of those layers for that person. It's not a path that's clearly defined. That's a different thing, because the person has to find their own path. And if you're on a path that you know what's happening next, it's probably the wrong path. Like, your path should be surprising you, but light is recognizable wherever you are in the darkness, especially as it gets darker. You will really see the light. And you showed up throughout as that light. Like, you're not telling me exactly what to do. You've been through that. So I see the light that you've been through. You've embodied it, right? Like, you're not regurgitating, oh, it's all about the process, man. Like, you're not regurgitating something you read or something that's cliche. It's like you've gone so deep into your own initiations that you get to provide this now. And that really is the ancient way. And I love that we're bridging as New Earth initiates and soul-based leaders. We're not going back to the old way. We're not living in, this tight-knit community, and then, in another physical location, there's a tight-knit community. It's like we're becoming this intergalactic virtual community in a lot of ways, and creating all these bridge points and these connections and these tethers. And it's so beautiful that, like, I'm in Costa Rica, you're in Florida, thousands of miles apart. We get to hop on a call and you're like, I've been here before. And I'm like, thank God. Like, how cool is that?
So
Okay,
good.
so good. Yeah.
And yeah, and also just to
Yeah, go ahead.
like also like with soul business, there's also it merges in with this meeting up with your soul family, where it's not just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this random person on the internet. It's like you start to meet when you're embodying more and more of your soul essence and emanating your frequency, more and more of your soul family is going to find you and you're going to find them. And you're creating what you know is these networks of
Yeah.
not only like initiation and support and midwife, like soul midwifing, but also, like, entire new economies, entire new realities through those connections, so I think that's also something really cool that we have to share of, like, I wasn't just like, "Oh, some random coach
I didn't
that you
find you
found online.
online because of your strategy that you did.
We
This
we
is
met in
again bridging.
person.
Exactly.
We
It's
met in a
bridging the
coffee shop.
ancient. We met in a coffee shop, and it's bridging that ancient cliche of when you're ready, the teacher will show. You are my fucking teacher, and I've said this to you a bazillion times. And we understand. We have a healthy relationship with that word. Like, I'm not pedestalizing you, but it's like you showed up because I was ready, you know? But it's not because I'm getting ready by going into the mountains and cutting off from all of society like they did in the old days. It's like, it's through this weird postmodern initiatory way of like, I found my way. I went through a huge descent and here you are, right?
Yeah, what you had gone through in your initiations prior, I truly believe it works like this of, like, that allowed you to even be able to perceive me. Like, to
Yes.
be because in our first conversation, what did we talk about? Oh, soul initiation, descent process, soul guided business, birthing medicine. We had already you had already been through a level of this where we could even, like, be in the same, timeline. So it's just cool being like trusting that all of our initiations are setting us up to unlock the next teaching, the next teacher to come in, the next thing that is for us. And it's just like it's so mystical, it's so magical, it blows my mind to, see that happen in the real world, like these ancient future ways of connecting with our soul family and people who are encoded into our mission blueprint.
It can really be this cool. Anybody listening? I had no idea. I thought that business, even if it's soul led, had to be separate from my soul initiations, from my evolution into mysticism, into these more feminine paths. I thought I had to choose, thought I had to sacrifice, thought I had to separate the two and like really learn strategy and, this like, very self-help culture, like get really good at that in order to thrive as a coach, as a guide, as an online entrepreneur. And I've been learning through this process that there is no separation. I can choose to separate it and live a life of suffering. Wow, what a fucking metaphor that is. I choose separation and leads to suffering. I love that.
Yes, and this unification, right? Of like
Yes.
life is always teaching me and revealing exactly the next thing that I'm and like what you do in your work too with the sessions of like what are you bringing into the session? What's right here? Oh, what is
Mhm.
happening right now? That's the doorway into understanding, awareness, unlocking the mysteries.
Literally, I had a client who thinks it's separate, the like noise in the background. It's just like, I want to share, but like there's this noise and it's annoying me because I feel like I can't be loud. I'm like making myself quiet. And I was like, you realize that that's exactly what's supposed to be coming up right now? Like that the metaphors of that, of like having to keep yourself quiet, like is like light bulb. Like, oh, I thought I had to figure out something to bring to this. um, yeah. So that segues nicely into, sort of the rebirth. And yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about like what we speak to as well in these alchemy blueprints of like through surrendering to the feminine, to the yin, to
Hmm.
the womb,
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
naturally births the yang, the clarity, the structure, the direction, and like just the truth of that. So I'm excited to hear your take on it.
I could have said that so many times, and I probably did in my journeys, like from studying and hearing about it in ancient Chinese medicine books and things like that, but I wasn't doing it. And that's the difference, right? Between the embodiment And so on the other side of this, I have such a deep knowing. I quantum timeline shifted, which if you don't know what that means, I'm still learning what that means. Like I shifted who I am massively in a very short amount of time, and it's embodied. It's not mental. I went through so many initiations, which take a long time. It's like you learn it and then you try to embody it. All this resistance comes up. You go back to your old ways. Then you come back to the mental concept of it. And it's kind of this loop that gets you where you need to go eventually, but it's slow and it's long. And what I went through since meeting you and since working with Genius Frequency for the past year is just these huge quantum timeline shifts where it's like, no, this is who I am now. I don't, that version of Josh is dead and or integrated into this upgraded version of myself. I lost my train of thought. Bring me back, Christina.
Going that deep into the yin of like letting
Okay, yes,
everything
that
go,
was
like
where I was
that the
going. Yeah,
masculine
yeah,
naturally emerges and it's just like, oh,
yeah,
it's here now.
yeah. So that's what happened, and I embodied it, and I trust it so deeply now that it's literally the mother. It's what has to come first, and that shows up in my day to day. I don't get up and try to figure out to do something. I sit in meditation. I sit for tea. I have spaciousness and I wait. And if I'm in tea, I have a journal next to me. And very often it just comes in, like things that I need to do. And it's clarified the order, right? It's not, fuck, I got to do this. Oh, fuck, I got to do that. Oh, how am I going to make this work? I lived in such a hell realm of trying to figure out reality, trying to figure out business, trying to figure out my health. It was so mental. And by mental, I mean going into the masculine polarity without coming back into the feminine, just staying there and then looping and looping. And it becomes so mental. And when we pause and we stop, all of that chaos and we remove all of the things that we don't actually need to be attuning to in our lives. So we come into stillness, we come into simplicity. That to me is the energy of yin. It's like going in, cutting off all of this external stimulation, waiting, melting, eyeing, crystallizing, maybe not crystallizing, metamorphosizing, like, becoming the goo. And the goo has within it the codes for the perfect action steps into structuring my reality. And it's not something I have to figure out with my mind. And so that process of dying and then coming back to life, it lined up so beautifully with getting an opportunity to move back to Florida, where we talked about the codes of Costa Rica being so feminine. And you've taught me that the codes of St. Petersburg, Florida are super masculine. It's like very grid. It's like everything you have said since the moment I met you about my journey, going back and forth and then upgrading and unionizing the masculine and feminine has all come true. And like the wisdom of knowing how it even pertains to the land that we're on is like so mind-blowing. So we have so many episodes to do, obviously, but yeah, coming back to Florida, and it was like a literal rebirth, because I didn't come out and be like, I'm alive, I know what to do, everything makes sense. It was actually like scary, and I felt this longing to stay in the womb, this place I had been avoiding for so long. I was like, wow, feeling yin, feeling my mystic, feeling creative, feeling spacious, not putting anything in my calendar was amazing. It was maybe the most healing process I've ever been through, reclaiming how beautiful my feminine is. My whole life avoiding that for a myriad of conditioned beliefs about what it means to be in my feminine. But reclaiming that, embodying it, and realizing how much I fucking love it. And what was so fascinating was how I noticed how hard it was to start coming back into form. And what came through in a feminine ceremony, sitting for tea in the morning with you, with your, there's a whole nother portal, is you're a tea ceremonialist, you're a tea master. Some of the most incredible feminine yin medicine I've ever found. I'm sitting there realizing, like, oh, my birth trauma, I did not want to leave the womb. That's the story of my birth, is that I was a very difficult birth where they had to use forceps and a vacuum and were really trying to get me out of there. And when I came out, I was probably pretty angry and traumatized. Like, why did you pull me from there? I don't want to be from there. That's my home. It's so magnificent in there. And, I'm getting emotional now just talking about it. Like in the tea ceremony, like feeling that fear, like, and that longing to go back, and how that was taken from me, like that sovereignty, that power, that choice. And I feel so much gratitude for it all. I'm not going into a crying because it's like, why did they do that to me? Why did God do that to me? It's just so much compassion for baby Josh, and so much gratitude for that moment in tea of like realizing how it's all connected, right? And realizing the wisdom of like, wow, this is why I feel scared coming back from the womb, because I was this is repeating, and this is a moment for me to heal this and to just be with myself. I have the tools and the resources, and my soul is like guiding me, because it's time to heal this. It's time to heal this wound of this feminine masculine relationship, this true inner union that's happening. And it's through business. What? It's through being an entrepreneur. I wasn't getting this in strategy school. Like, and so that's,
Mhm.
I'm just going to pause there because I'm feeling a lot. And yeah, just feeling really grateful.
Yeah, this is the process of restoring true inner union. And I've been such a humble student of that process. And really, what I've discovered is that is, as we go through these restoration processes of the right relationship between these polarities of a masculine that is in reverence and guardianship and devotion to the feminine, which is the well. It is the well of vitality and nourishment and inspiration and creativity that lives within us. And in this culture, like in the distortions of these templates, it's like the masculine has in many times been conditioned to extract from the feminine, to be like, why aren't you producing more? Why aren't you more creative? Has been conditioned to override the body, the matter, the mother has been has been conditioned to dominate, the mind dominating the body and controlling and manipulating our inner wellspring where true genius, creativity, and medicine emerges from. And so as we restore, and even like with the birth trauma, it's like that imprint of the masculine forcing some process onto the body, onto you. Like there is a profound repatterning that's happening as we, can relive these traumas that form our original inner union template. And this goes so deep and so vast, we won't fully get into it. But from what I've tracked, what I've experienced, what I've witnessed, when we go through this organic process to restore our original blueprint, that is where our health, our vitality, and our natural experience of creativity emerges from. So rather than saying, oh, I need to like figure out all this content to create and trying to pull something and use our mind and like, oh, how am I going to make my business work? And I have to make myself do all these things. When we come into this natural union, I've found that business becomes a natural extension of our organic technology where we're really creating space for ourselves to sit in the void, to sit in spaciousness, to melt into the feminine dimensions. And then from that place, like naturally we overflow, and the masculine's like, cool, like let's make a post about that. That's emerging. And so inner union is not separate from our businesses. It's not separate from our health. It is like such a gorgeous privilege experience that we're getting to experience at this time on Gaia to truly come into inner harmony in a way that, like, I don't know that it's been available to us for a very, very, very long time. There's so much light, there's so much support for this restoration process. And it also takes an immense amount of courage and devotion because there's also a lot of pain and trauma that we might have to tend to in that journey. So thank you for, yeah, just your continual surrender to discovering what that union is within yourself as well, and being in the unknown, as so many of us are, as we're kind of forging new territory as a collective right now.
I'm so pleased with how this episode is going. I mean, this is just like my vision was like me sharing the story, getting, I didn't think I'd cry, but, getting vulnerable and, you having the fucking codes on this stuff because you've worked out, you know, to the level that you've worked out in granularity, you know, these themes, these inner themes, and giving words to them so beautifully. Thank you. And yeah, that kind of segues into the last part of what I'll say is the episode. Wow. Okay. So this is a whole rabbit hole we're going to go down in a future episode,
Yeah.
but this coming back online and having a much better balance between the feminine and masculine in my day-to-day has forged this capacity, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's really like my intuition is so much stronger and finely attuned that it became clear to me that I needed to cleanse. And that's a whole rabbit hole of not just a physical cleanse, but a psycho-spiritual cleanse. It became very clear. I became more aware of entities, dark forces on my energy fields. And so I was guided, and I listened to my body, my soul, and like how to do this cleanse. And it was during a time where I'm in this very masculine container outside of working with you that's more just like a group of entrepreneurs supporting one another. But kind of showing up for those, like I'm still not goal setting. I'm still like figuring this out. I'm still figuring out how my masculine wants to come on board. I'm like, and it seems like it wants to die again in some way. Like, it's kind of weird. I don't understand. I'm going through this cleanse. I'm going to be low energy. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. And going through the purification process of that and like being really miserable, by like day 3, and again, sitting in, you guessed it, tea ceremony, and having such a breakthrough on like my crabbiest day of like feeling irritable, this like realization that this irritability is this flavor of this personality that resists anything spiritual. There's like no getting me out of it. I get stuck in this loop of like, it's all shit. Like, and it just like my heart's not opening, just resistance, this huge resistance. And I've done work with this part of myself for years with like parts work and trying to do a nervous system regulation thing, things that just will shift it. And it's been super hard when it shows up. Man, it's like, you know, I usually have had to just leave gatherings because like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that negative dude. And this realization during that tea ceremony and like all this stuff I've been, there's so much more than just what I'm sharing of the process I'm going through, but leading to this realization that that's not me. That was an entity. That was straight up an entity that I have been identifying with my whole life. And thank God I have the tools and the people in my life. I'm aligned with my soul. So the right people are showing up. You've shown up. I had another person show up to help clear some of this and bring light to this entity. And then the tools of working with genius frequency, what I'm certified in, what I support others with, I do it to myself. Such a massive breakthrough and such a massive purging of that entity, which is not returned, even in like the littlest iota. And what came through on that tea ceremony as well, without a thought about it, it wasn't, I have to figure out how to make my life better. I've got to figure out how to cleanse. I just knew I was cleansing. What came through was, you're going to do a 40-day semen retention. I was like, okay. I'd done intentional semen retention practices before. I'd never I think I've retained it for more than 40 days, but not like intentionally. It just kind of happened with being really busy with life. But like a very intentional one where I wasn't given much more, but it started to reveal as the week went on with all of these Christ consciousness teachings and Mary Magdalene and like inner Egyptian alchemy, like so many things just appearing, supporting me on this huge purification portal that I've entered. And it's been this deep symbol. We're about halfway through. I think it's been 20 days, something like that. I got to look up the date exactly, but I'm about halfway through. And it's been so symbolic of the inner union of the feminine masculine. It's like these right action structure steps of like how to do these things keep revealing. And then there will be a fear of like, I don't know if I can do that. Was that my mind? I'm going to feel into this and pause. And and there's some big work that needs to be done emotionally, somatically. There's some old negative belief that's in the form of, disguising itself as Josh. It's like, oh, I'm ready to release that now. And just when I thought, I don't know if I can do these 40 days, the next day after doing that work, I'm like, wow, I feel so much lighter in my root chakra. And like, I feel like I can go the 40 days. It continues to blow my mind. And in this past week, as you've seen me, have more energy than I've ever had in my entire life. So there is such a restructuring and purification and inner union happening at such a level I don't have words for. And I'm so curious what's on the other side of this 40 days. And I'm so excited to bring myself back to this podcast with you interviewing me again. I'm just like, that's going to be so fun. And yeah, so I'm on right now. That's all happening in my life that has no separation from my business. It's been all woven together so beautifully. It's all my initiations that I'm going to get to guide others through. And I'm fucking stoked. And at the time of the release of this episode, I will be going really front facing. The website is done and the Instagram temple is done. And from here on out, it's like, what is left to be purified as we're heading into this new year in, the Chinese understanding. You have a better understanding than I do, so I'll let you explain that. But like February, moving from the year of the snake to the year of the running horse, is that it?
Fire horse.
Fire horse. That makes more sense. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And that, again, through meeting you, I've felt and recognized my alignment with the stars, with every astrology reading is like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, to a T, my life.
Mhm.
And every year that's been happening a little bit more, a little bit. It's like, oh yeah. Where it used to be like, that doesn't apply to me at all. And now it's like, it's as if I'm getting a direct reading. It's super strange and makes perfect sense. So I'll pause there. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's so cool to feel alignment with the bigger prophecy, right? Of like everything's right on time. This year of the
Super cool.
snake has been massive purification and shedding and dissolution, and also like creating these new foundations from the deepest truth of our essence and getting everything set up and like locked into place so that when also the 3-year cycle of Saturn being in Pisces last 2.5 years, that has been a huge collective initiation into like many different themes in the Pisces realms, but really like this spiritual maturity where so many people have really anchored into like, what is this really all for? What are we really doing here? This deeper level of maturity and stewardship of the medicine that's really in service to a collective vision more so than getting my survival needs met, or getting my, or like kind of trying to get my like voids filled or my childhood wounds soothed by my business. Like there's so much that so many of us have gone through to really go through the deep inner process to come into this like, oh, I know what I'm here for. I know what my medicine is. It's in service to this bigger reality that we're all weaving and holding our unique pillar in. And then when Saturn shifts into Aries in February and we enter the year of the fire horse, a 1 year, there is just so much momentum that's going to come, and we're going to have these foundations to really pour into and to build upon. And I am so excited for this shift. I feel personally that we have been going through such a huge purification and initiation process collectively, and we're going to just get to see new worlds getting built, and we're going to feel the fire underneath us in support of what we're doing. So I can't wait to see
Amen.
what's next for you, and also just to share how cool it is to see like my crazy mad scientist mystic understandings of the higher realms like play out like within your process, because your temple of soul body wholeness that holds all these codes for like true health and integration, mind, body, soul, all the realms, like how that energy and you really aligning and embodying your medicine, how it's literally healed you. It has, I have seen it bring you through so many processes to heal ancestral trauma, past life trauma, to go through parts integration, to go through huge experiences of like understanding and unlocking the codes that you're able to hold space for others. So just the brilliance of like you've been being mentored by the soul of your business. And that looks different for everyone. Like my business is called Becoming Medicine. So it's really asked me to get very masterful in the process of alchemy and initiation to embody the living transmission of the codes, which, by the way, when you're embodying the medicine, things get kind of easier in the other realms because you're naturally more magnetic. Like, you are vibrating in the frequency and timeline of your soul family. There's just this organic, natural orchestration of giving and receiving and divine alignment and orchestration. So it's like worth it to go through the sometimes like kind of intensive process or very mysterious process of true integration of what we're here to serve, because then at that point, like, yeah, things just start feeling a lot more magical, a lot more fluid, and honestly, like, in my experience, getting my mind blown by God all the time. I see that with you happening of just like, this is so perfectly set up, like, it could not have been more perfectly written that all of it's happening like this,
Yes.
and yeah, and just to see, like, yeah, like, I when I first met you and I felt the temple of soul body wholeness, I was like, "Whoa, these are huge codes." Like, wow, I could see it in the higher realms, and I've just seen you entrain to that more and more, and, like, your light body, your frequency, your health, your vitality, your heart, your prayer, it's all just fortified and strengthened, and I can just feel, like, the massive light that you're embodying and carrying from going through this big alchemy process, and it's so yeah, it's so gorgeous to see you in this place and to reflect on the journey today in this way.
Mm, mm. So beautifully said. And one more piece I'll add, when you are aligned with the frequency of your soul, you like what you see.
Mm,
Like, the inner critic is all but gone or has been upgraded into like the inner flatterer, but like the most, it's like, I unabashedly am going to say, I love myself. I love my look. I love my voice. I love my expression. When I look at replays of myself, I don't have the cringe. And if I do, sometimes it's not harsh. It's just, it's funny. It's like, I can do better. Like, I know I can do better. And this was never my set point until I really got into the bones of my soul, like embodied my soul, like allowed the soul to come into this reality. And I know you've said the same thing. It's like we find ourselves beautiful, but not in this like egoic, like status, image place. It's like, oh, thank God that there's not this inner turmoil about who I am and my expression. I actually am like,
mhm,
this is what I've seen in other people that I've admired and been like, oh, but that's not me. I wish I could be like that. And it's like, whoa, that's why I was projecting the whole time my golden shadow onto these people and not seeing that it was me all along and like getting to see me through. It's like through this container with you, I got to see how much I love art. Like we went into artistic portals together. Your photography and your videography is from another universe because it's the foundation of soul. It's not the foundation of like everything you do is that like feminine soul. It's like you never took a photography class. And I was like, what? Like the beauty that comes through. And so I got to see through that like another emanation of my love for aesthetics that come from the soul, like that bridging, not to manipulate or figure out like what is the brand, like if we use these colors, will that hit that dopamine center in their brain where they're gonna be addicted to my thing. It's like, no. It's like, what do I find fucking gorgeous? And it comes out as like, that's it. That's what it, I don't care what the strategy is and what's gonna work and whatever. It's like, this is me. And I see that, and it's so funny to be in this container with you as I'm like restructuring, recrystallizing. You can literally see it in my hair and my beard style. I shave my head before meeting you, and then coming together in this container, it's taken so many forms in my beard, and now it's a mustache, and it's just like, and it's got this like mohawk thing going on, and it's like, I don't know who I'm going to be in 2 weeks, but I'm loving the process, and I think that's just a beautiful physical representation of what's been happening. So I thank you so much, Christina Marie. And do you want to mention any ways that people can find you, work with you? I mean, I'll put stuff in the notes, but is there anything else that you want to just end the show with?
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor to be a part of this creation that I feel like I got to have such a behind the scenes view of the devotion to bringing this forth. And excited to continue to get on with you. I feel like we have so much that we can share about. We can talk for days. But yeah, I would love to share that you can connect with me on Instagram at Becoming Medicine. I offer containers for mission souls, the medicine people of the new earth, those who are really bringing and birthing the deep, deep, deep medicine temple of their soul into the world. And whether you're going through kind of like an initial birthing process or you're taking things to the next level and crystallizing the next octave of your body of work and of your soul led business, I offer containers just to midwife that process. And I also offer one on one mentorship for mission souls and those who are walking this path of alchemy and initiation, who are wanting to be supported, held, reflected in that process, who know that they're in a chapter where they're not meant to be doing that alone and they'd like support to really harvest the wisdom of their initiations into crystallized ways of being and truly a continual upward spiral from their deep, deep, deep soul essence. So feel free to reach out to me, connect, and I'll be seeing you on here again likely soon. So thank you, Joshua, for having me.
Yeah, just to add, we've talked about sort of this like possible collaboration in the future, or it's just right now it's a possibility of just sending each other people. It's like I'm for the people who are going into a deep death process. It's like they don't even know what they're here for. Like they know they're here for something, but it's like, everything is so um blurry and confusing and muddy, and maybe for the first time it's like, they thought they knew, because that was me. I thought I knew, and then it all got obliterated, right? And on the other side of working with me, Christina's the perfect fucking person, because it's like, okay, there's like been this birthing, and now there's confusion of like, well, how to crystallize that, like where to go with that, right? And there's so many death birth cycles that have to happen, through that process to really, as we named everything. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we're good. So thank you so much. And thank you for listening, dear listeners. Have a blessed rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on the Soulbody Wholeness podcast. If you like this episode, you can support the journey by rating and subscribing wherever you listen. I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Soulbody Wholeness for more insights and to stay up to date with my current offerings. And if you feel called to work with me directly, I invite you to visit my website at www.soulbodywholeness.life. I offer somatic alchemy sessions and soul purpose initiation journeys that awaken your inner healer, reconnect you to your innate wholeness, and ignite your soul's deepest purpose. I invite you to carry this resonance with you as you move throughout your day, and return anytime you need a reminder of your courage, your wholeness, and your light. Blessings, old friend.